everyone, welcome to Byju's Exam Prep. I hope all of you are doing really good today, and I hope I'm clearly audible and visible to everybody as well. Good evening, very good evening. How are you guys today? It's been a long time that I saw you. I hope all of you are doing really good today. You guys are working hard. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this session today. We shall be talking about how to prepare for CLAT 2024, because the sooner you start, the better it is going to be for you. If you could quickly confirm that I'm clearly audible and visible to everybody, we shall shoot with the agenda of the session. Hi Vishal, very good evening. Alright, so as the name suggests, CLAT 2024, which is tentatively going to be held in the month of December, roughly the second Sunday of December in 2024, is probably a year and a few months, 3-4 months ahead. And I'm sure a lot of you are already clear about your target that, okay, this is what I want to, guys. I want to see myself in the topmost NLUs. I want to be a permanent lawyer someday, probably a judge or a bureaucrat one day, working for the country, fighting for the equality of the people. I'm sure you see yourself that way. And if 2024 is your target year, we shall be talking about what exactly should we do so that we prepare amply for this examination. So the agenda is that we talk about the overview of CLAT. What is our expectation with the CLAT pattern that would happen in 2024? The exam structure, the section-wise preparatory tips and strategies that you can follow so that your roadmap to 2024 is a smooth one, because you are an early bird, you are an early starter. So I'm sure it's going to be advantageous for you. And what should be your strategy for preparing for 2024 CLAT? So that's the agenda for the session today. So let's start talking about everything. But before that, meet our rank holders, kids that we have taught in our online classroom program who've made it to the best of the NLUs. And I'm sure you would want to see yourself here, replacing their pictures next and next to next year as well. So we have people getting into Bangalore and Hyderabad and Kolkata and many more colleges, NLU Delhi as well. So these are a few of our rank holders, and we have a long list to go on. If you wish to be one of those kids, make sure you enroll yourself at the earliest into our programs. So now let's start talking about the fact that, is CLAT actually a sprint race or a marathon? What does that mean actually? So when I say it's not a sprint race, it's a marathon, I'm trying to say the fact that, see, in a sprint, you take a short run, a quick run, okay? But then we know one fact for sure, that entire CLAT syllabus now, including AILET syllabus as well, completely focuses on your ability to read efficiently and quickly. And that is something that cannot be done with a sprint race. You need to be running gradually for a longer distance, for a longer period of time, because the things CLAT and AILET demand of us cannot be done in a jiffy. It cannot be done in a set of 10 days. You prepare for it and you sit and you get bang, you get into your favorite NLU. It doesn't happen like that. It requires constant practice over an elongated period of time. And that's exactly why we say CLAT is not a sprint race. It's a marathon. You need to run a marathon. You know, you need to survive with all your energy that you have, bit by bit, processing towards the goal that you've made, getting into the best of the NLUs. So don't consider it to be sprint race. It's certainly a marathon. Now we have approximately 1.5, not exactly 2. We have roughly 1.5 years, and we need to prepare really smart here. When I say really smart, it is because most of you are going to be sitting for CLAT 2024 along with your schools. And that's exactly why preparing for CLAT early will give you an advantage, because 2024 will coincide, rather 2025 will coincide with your boards. You'll be in between your preparation for your board. So your schools are going to overburden you. And if you start sooner, it's going to be easier for you to manage your boards along with your CLAT preparation. And that's exactly why we say your smart work, comes a lot handy in your preparation strategy for CLAT. So assuming that you're going to be sitting for 2024, you have your boards and you need to build your foundation, you need to practice hard, you need to put in a lot of effort. The sooner you start, the better it is going to be for you. You can obviously enroll yourself or start practicing along with your 12th. But then if you are absolutely clear with your idea, okay, see, this is what I want to do. After my 12th, I want to see myself in an NLU. Then what is exactly stopping you from starting your preparation right now? You can start something on your own as well. You don't necessarily need to enroll yourself for any program, but there are some tips and tricks that I'll be sharing you that you can start right from today, which will make sure you go a long, long way. Remember, it's a marathon. And a few things that I need to remind you of is that one, CLAT has totally been unpredictable. And that's exactly why your smart work comes handy. Why has CLAT been unpredictable? See, I've been teaching for CLAT for almost 12 years. Okay. Almost ever since the inception of CLAT. And I have a fair idea of how the pattern has emerged. And I usually tell the story to the kids in my classroom programs that there was a year 2011. Okay. That's when CLAT started coming up with the surprises. So the surprises were you went into the exam hall being prepared that there's going to be one reading comprehension, some grammar questions, some parajumble questions. And CLAT 2011, for the first time ever, gave you a googly. So they said, no grammar, no parajumbles, no vocabulary. I'm going to give you 4 RCs. Anybody who was prepared for CLAT giving you googlies, you would have sailed through. If you trusted the consortium for a regular pattern, you wouldn't have made it through. And then the journey continued. Every year there's something. So once they promise that we're going to give you static GK only, that they give a lot of current affairs. On the other hand, once they promise they're going to give you only current affairs, that paper was full of static GK. In a nutshell, CLAT, the consortium, can throw up any new variant like the COVID variants we've been seeing, and you need to be prepared for anything and everything. One thing that we know for sure is the fact that CLAT doesn't test your core knowledge a lot. It has moved away from that. But if I say that there are going to be 6 RCs for sure, I'll be lying there. If I say there is going to be no grammar question, I'll be lying there as well. We cannot say anything at all about CLAT's pattern for sure. I can't write it down on a stamp paper and give it to you. So, when you start preparing early, you prepare almost every kind of question that might come up. And when you see any kind of question that come up, you are not taken aback with the new pattern. You know, this is something I've already done. I've invested 1.5 years to this. I can do this. Any kind of mock. I have given so many mocks. I can do this. I'm not in a state of shock looking at a new pattern because I've practiced enough. That's exactly why your early starting and your smart work comes handy. So remember, CLAT has been unpredictable. Every year the pattern changes. 2024, the pattern may change again. We just need to look at the remedy of this unpredictability. And what is the remedy to this unpredictability? I'd like to know that from you. How do you think can you be prepared for anything unpredictable coming in the examination? I'd like to know that from you, all those people watching me live. How do you think can you prepare aptly and be ready for any new variant coming up in the examination? Maybe English is given 70 marks weightage out of 150 and maybe there's no maths, or maybe maths for 30 marks or 40 marks, an increment in the score. How do we prepare amply then? What do you think is the remedy to this unpredictability? I'd like to know that from all of you. How would you prepare aptly for that? How would you be ready for that? So, in a nutshell, if I need to be ready for that, I need to, 1, cover up everything. Anything and everything that might be asked in any competitive law-based examination. RCs, I'll do them. Grammar, I'll do them. Static GK, I'll do them. GK based on law, I'll do them. Mathematics, a lot of questions, I will do them. So I'm not going to leave critical reasoning, logical reasoning sets. I'm going to do them. Sitting arrangements, I'm going to do them. So you need to be practicing everything. And we have to do it from the scratch so that anything that comes up as a new thing, whatever difficulty level it might have, if I've started preparing from base to the difficulty level of the questions, the hardest part, I'm not leaving out on anything. I am completely prepared. Whatever CLAT might give me, I am ready for it because I have taken my mock sincerely. So, Raman, when to start current affairs? That's usually from December onwards because 1 year's current affair is covered up. So you need to start preparing your current affairs December onwards, but I expect you to start reading the newspapers right now. And there are many reasons for that. I'll be answering that when I address the point of how to do GK and reading. And you have my answer. Why do we need to read newspapers regularly from now onwards? I'll talk about that in detail in the next few slides. So I hope you guys are clear about how to be ready with the unpredictability CLAT might throw up, because I'm going to be practicing anything and everything. So I'll not be surprised if a new kind of question comes up in CLAT or AILET. And AILET and CLAT have been infamous for giving us new variant of questions. So we have roughly the second Sunday of December. The cycle changes this year. Every December now on, probably CLAT is going to be held because now it has moved forward from taking the examination into May, coinciding with your board examination. They've moved to December. So very likely every December you'll have a CLAT examination. 2024 also is going to be during December only. Now let's talk about something. It's a very interesting data analysis that I'm going to show you. Okay. See, roughly over the last few years, we have 55K, roughly an average of 55K kids sitting for the examination, and I have barely 2,500, 2,600 seats in the 22 NLUs. I'm sure you might not be really happy going to NLU Assam or Patna because these are, or Ranchi, these are bottom ones. I'm sure you would be aiming for the best of the NLUs, NLS, Nalsar, WB, NUJS, Jodhpur. You'll be aiming for the best of them. So I have probably the best of the seats lesser than 2K, and I have the number of kids sitting for it are roughly 55K. Is the competition too tough? Hi Neha. Is the competition too tough? Is it? That's exactly what I want to know from you. Do you think the competition is too tough here? Yes, Yug, for now it is. Absolutely is. There are a few more things I'll suggest you to read while I move ahead with the individual sectional strategy. You can keep a watch of that and keep making notes of that as well. So is it a tough ball game altogether? Because so many kids, 55K kids, only 2K seats, tough competition? My answer, a clear no. It is not a tough competition. Why? I'll tell you. By my words, I've been teaching CLAT aspirants for over 12 years. My teaching experience mostly has been into CLAT. And I say this is not a tough competition because maximum number of people who sit for the examination fill up the form only for the sake of filling it up. They are probably not as sincere as you guys are because you guys are watching my session right now. You want to be prepared for 2024. You want to start as early as possible. Most of the kids aren't serious. Only roughly 10K kids out of 55K kids. This is where the competition lies. Can you beat these 10K kids for those 2K seats? Probably you can. If you are an early starter, you certainly can. No, Neha, it doesn't happen. Hi, Anil. So the idea is most of the kids fill out the form. Oh, they don't prepare. They fill out the form because they filled out any other examination. It's a backup option, or they fill out the form because the parents say, that is a good examination. Why don't you give this a try? That's our experience. So the most of the competition lies here. I have to fight with these number of kids and not 55K kids. When you look at the scorecards, that's when you'll realize, you'll buy my words what I say. Can I leave behind these kids with a bit of hard work and smart strategy? I absolutely can. There's no denying this fact. Okay. So let's have a look at the latest pattern that has emerged. Yes, Yug, you're surprised. But then out of 55K, only 10K probably are serious. Can you leave behind them, Yug? I'm sure you can. With smart work, hard work, knowing the right strategy, I'm sure you can. So the idea is, see, lately the trend for CLAT has, taken a new side, a new direction, and we see a new pattern emerging. Let me talk to you about the new pattern. The new pattern is that CLAT doesn't focus a lot on your hardcore knowledge. CLAT doesn't focus a lot on the fact that you know basic rules and regulations and constitution and the basic fundamentals of everything. No. One thing that it focuses on is how efficiently and how quickly can you read, and how quickly and efficiently can you process the information given in the passage to you. That means if instead of those 2 hours to sit for CLAT, I give you 6 hours, you probably will be able, without any preparation, you probably will be able to solve almost all the questions. The answer's right there. It's the pressure and it's the detailed reading that's tested. And what's a lawyer who doesn't know how to read? I think this pattern is the best one. See, you're going to be lawyers. You have to read n number of books. You agree with me? Okay. All right. Ma'am, there are many sessions on syllabus. Do we need to see all? Many sessions on syllabus for 2024? No, this is the only one, Yug. I think you're mistaken. All right, so back to it. See, if I give you 6 hours, you'll probably be able to solve all the questions. 2 hours and reading them and finding your answers correctly. And quickly, that's what's checked in CLAT. And lawyers have to read massively. And that's what NLUs expect out of you, that you are a reader. So if you're not a reader, probably there's no escaping for you. You need to be one. What do I read? Do I read novels and old classics? No, absolutely not. You need to be aware about what's happening around the world. That's what you need to know. And that's what you need to read. So it's mostly a reading oriented paper. The entire paper is based on paragraphs. They are supremely lengthy. They are time consuming. ALET is even more lengthy and more time consuming. So you need to read efficiently. You need to read very, very quickly. That's what's checked here. Your reading skills, your analytical skills, and your logical inclination. So logical inclination, see, if I give you a statement, you should be able to analyze the statement logically. So if you are somebody who's ready to read, and if you are somebody who has a logical inclination of mind, this is the examination for you. Look no further. I'm sure you can sail through the examination. So you need to have an inclination towards reading and inclination towards your logical thinking. This logical thinking will help you with legal reasoning, logical reasoning, critical reasoning, English, all of it, mathematics, all of it. So that's a combination that CLAT checks you on. It absolutely demands good reading speed, good comprehension skills. Your GK, of course, needs to be great. You need to be a regular reader of the newspapers and be aware of what's happening around the world. Your basic knowledge of law, your basic understanding of how law functions. You might not know hardcore concepts of law because that's what's going to be taught in the NLUs. Okay? Neha, you can watch it. All right. But ultimately, your basic understanding of how law functions is going to be tested here, and basic fundamentals of mathematics, calculations, not very difficult ones. Even if you're not excellent with mathematics, you're somebody like me, trust me, if I can do those mathematics questions, you certainly can. I am really bad in mathematics. I assure you that I can do those questions. I'm sure you can do them too. So this has been the latest exam structure that we have seen. But mind my words, can this be repeated in 2023 or 2024? We're not sure. Is quantitative techniques 13 to 17 questions, are they going to be there in 2024? Probably yes. We're not sure. Because CLAT has been gradually deviating away. All these law entrance examinations have been gradually deviating away from the number of quantitative ability questions. So the number of questions might go up, might go down, but a rough weightage that you see is 25% to legal and GK, and roughly 20% to English and 10% to mathematics. 150 marks, 2 hours, plus 1 for every correct and minus 0.25 for every incorrect. That's the latest pattern that we have been following. We've been seeing for the last couple of years into CLAT, and we assume this is going to remain almost The same +5 -5 into 2023 and 2024 as well. And what do we learn out of the last 3 years? Because these learnings are very necessary. Guys, when you start preparing for any competitive examination, we need to remember that the past year papers and their analysis is very, very important. That's going to be the bedrock of your preparatory strategy. Because otherwise you can't assume anything. How do we make assumptions? We make assumptions on the basis of the analysis of the past year papers. So their understanding, solving them carefully is supremely important. So the first thing that I expect out of you before you start preparing anything is that you look at these years' papers, 2020, 21, 22, all of these. Look at the paper, analyze the papers carefully. Look at the pattern they've been following. Look at the difficulty level of questions they've been giving you. Analyze these papers, at least the last 3 years. Solve them wholeheartedly. See, if you had sat for this paper in 2022, how much score would you have got? What's that stopping you from getting a desired score? That analysis is very, very important. What analysis we have for you? Of course, it did not check how strong your fundamentals were. It checked your regular reading habit. That's one common thing that was visible in the last 3 years of the paper. Of course, your basic understanding. Vocab, much needed. Direct questions, few, but difficult vocab in the RCs. So to sail through the RCs carefully and efficiently, your vocab needs to be good. So that is something I need to prepare well for as well. And more than half of the 150 questions were based on RCs. That is, more than half of the paper had RCs and questions based on RCs. GK, RCs, legal, RCs, critical reasoning, English, all full of RCs. That is, more than half of the paper had direct questions from RCs. If I am regular with my reading habit, I shall have no problem. Okay. So, ma'am, how many seats are there in Bangalore? So, Bangalore lately has increased the seats to roughly 80. But then, Samanvit, it depends on the category that you belong to. Because some of them are reserved for the domicile reservation. Some of them are reserved for women candidates. So, it depends who you are fighting with. Okay. All right. So, ma'am, ALET is principle and fact based? Yes, it is. So, ALET is a mixture. There were not many questions this year in ALET. Probably only 7 questions. I'll tell you how. ALET had 70 marks of reasoning coming up, Yuk. And out of 70 marks, merely roughly 7, if I'm not wrong exact with the number, 7 questions were based on legal reasoning. They were principle and fact based. All other there were none, 2 of the mathematical reasoning questions, okay, logical reasoning, and rest of them were critical reasoning questions. So they were paragraph based questions, they were one-liner questions, but all critical reasoning based. So ALET has moved away from giving you a lot of legal reasoning and mathematical and analytical reasoning questions. They are more inclined towards giving you critical reasoning and reading based questions as well. So the same thing is checked with ALET as well. Okay. Yes, state reservations are there in almost every NLU barring NLU Jodhpur. That's the only state, Rajasthan, that doesn't give you state reservation. Almost every other NLU gives you state reservation and reservation to women as well. I'm happy. Back to it, it checked on your ability to read and, barely, okay, this is your book. Take this book. I have observed something in my so many years of teaching. In the month of May, Neha, it will be conducted till now. The information is it will be conducted in the month of May. If it is preponed, we'll let you know about that. But there's no information of it being preponed yet. Okay, I'll share some experience that I've gained over the last few years. I've seen a lot of kids being hoarders. Hoarders, what do you hoard? Kids hoard material. Okay, and they collect a lot of, okay, GK, you get it from this source, get it from that source. I'm going to read it and I'm going to rephrase it in the examination because direct question might come up. It doesn't work like that. That's merely a superficial understanding of the topic that you're doing. And that doesn't help you in CLAT. So if I give you a set of questions and I say, do this and you'll get through. This is not a government job examination. It doesn't work like that here. Okay. So the idea is that you need to be delving deeper, have a deep understanding of what's happening around the world. It will aid you with your critical reasoning, logical reasoning, GK, everything. We need to be understanding things with a deep understanding. That's needed. Merely giving you a set of notes, okay, do this and you sail through, it doesn't work like that. CLAT doesn't work like that. So merely scanning and cramming facts and reproducing them in the examination, CLAT doesn't work like that. You need to be a reader who analyzes things. That's what's expected out of you. The basic old mathematics, the basic percentage, ratio, proportion, all of these, they come handy. Questions are easy and they're doable in mathematics. That's what we learn out of different sections out of the last 3 years papers and their analysis. Now, before I talk to you about individual sections and the strategies that you can follow, make sure you've liked the session. If you haven't done that yet, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Share the session with as many people as you know. Tell them, come on, sit for CLAT. Okay? Don't think of them as your competitors. I told you. Because more than 40k people fill it up only for the sake of filling it up. And make sure you comment under the video if you're watching the video later on. So, now let's start talking about individual sections and what you can do starting from today to prepare aptly for 2024. Because as I say, early starter will certainly have an advantage here. The sooner you start, because it's a reading examination, reading based, and that can't be done in a jiffy. So either you're somebody who's inclined towards reading and have been reading every time, you probably can, but you need to know what are the right sources to read from. What are the kind of articles that might come up. So let's discuss the individual section-wise strategy. 1. Read to the power of infinite. You can't skip this. There's no second choice to it. You might hate reading. I'll buy your point. I've met so many kids who've hated to read. If you're one of those, tell me if you're one of those who doesn't like to read at all. I don't like reading. It's boring to me. If you're one of those, I buy your point. I can teach you ways to make reading pleasurable for you. I can give you articles. We can suggest things to you that you might be interested in. And that makes reading a pleasure and not a burden. Because ultimately you're going to be lawyers and there's no escaping. If you don't read today, you'll have to read after 5 years, whatever college you land up in. So please read to the power of infinite. There's no second choice to it. The last 3 years, we've seen that happening. You have to improve your vocabulary, reading speed, your thinking skills, your GK, your legal awareness, and all of that can be done through reading. It's a package. So reading from a variety of sources, reading eclectically on various topics, all of these things can be covered up through reading. Make sure you do that. Tarun, I can understand that. I'm sure. I have seen many kids, and I've seen many kids changing their sides from your side to the other one where they like reading. And trust me, reading is something that's going to go a long, long way. You're going to fall in love with it so much that you'll probably never give up on reading throughout your life. So, 1, you need to read. 2nd, I have to be very regular with my GK. When I say regular, I want to tell you, again, giving you a compendium and do this and you're done. Voila, you're done. It doesn't work like that. You need to be very regular. Because, and that's why I told you to start preparing and reading newspapers right now. Because every current affair topic has a history. Even if it's a new topic that comes up, it has something that goes on to the history. It dates back to an older incident. And if you don't read regularly, you'll not have a link of what's happening. If I start talking about Bitcoins today, I'll explain what Bitcoins are. Okay. But then, how will you go back and understand where did it start? And how did the entire fiasco of the Bitcoin industry happen? If you read regularly, you'll have an idea of the history as well. History doesn't mean the ancient one. History means the last 2-3 years. Every newspaper will repeat the history for you. They'll tell you, okay, this is the fiasco. This is the conundrum that's happening. I need to be very regular with my current affairs. And I have to be a reader, of course. Now, what are the things that I need to do while I read? Let's start talking about that. Ma'am, can one crack NLS if preparing for CLAT 2023 and starting now? Ravinder, absolutely yes. But, mind my words, you need to be working hard. You need to be putting your best foot forward. If you lax with that, I'm sorry, the dream will be a far-fetched one. Because there's no shortcut to it. Okay? So, NLS, of course, I've seen kids getting into NLS even after a month of preparation, but they were regular. Okay, so you need to be putting your best foot forward and work hard and smart. Okay, so ma'am, my vocab is very weak. I'll tell you how to improve that. You are targeting 2024, right? You have ample of time. You can be a dictionary by that time, which is not expected out of you. Don't be a dictionary, be a master of the high frequency words. I'll tell you what the high frequency words are when we talk about the English section in detail. So what are the things I need to be doing while I'm reading regularly? Always, I have taken up an article from the Hindu. Okay, I'm going to read that. How do I read that? I analyze. Okay, what is the issue that is being brought up here? Do I know about the issue completely? If I don't, I'll go check out Wikipedia and read about the issue. I analyze the issue carefully. Not from a personal opinion perspective that I like this and I don't. No, examiner doesn't care about that. I need to analyze what is the issue being discussed. Do I know amply about it? If I don't, I'm going to do my research. I'll jot down the pros and cons. I'll jot down the historical importance. Again, giving you the example of what happened in with the Bitcoin conundrum. I need to know its historical importance. What led to the conundrum? I'll go back to the history. And what can happen in the future? I'll go back and try to anticipate that as well. And how to move about that. So I basically, in a nutshell, need to analyze every article in a detailed manner. Not merely reading it for the sake of vocabulary and RC, but reading it for the sake of law, GK, critical reasoning, everything. That's how I read every article. I analyze it carefully. If I don't know about that, I go back to the history, I read that in detail. For GK's perspective, current affairs, I have to tell you, CLAT Ignite is one of the best sources that's available to you for free right now. CLAT 2022 had roughly 25 questions directly asked from CLAT Ignite. It's the most important source for preparing for current affairs. While you're simultaneously reading newspaper, make sure you follow every month's CLAT Ignite so that there's a revision that happens for you, because see, there are experts sitting in and making CLAT Ignite for you. They know exactly the pattern of the examination kind of questions that come up. So you need to be very regular with CLAT Ignite. That's one suggestion I will wholeheartedly give to you. Please follow that wholeheartedly. Do your regular GK every month and do a revision through CLAT Ignite. That's been provided to you every month in a Telegram channel and under our video description, everywhere that's there. Okay, so that's one thing. The other, at least one newspaper necessary. Somebody asked me, ma'am, do we need more newspapers? For a starter, one is enough. Next year, maybe 2023, when it starts, you can juggle between two newspapers because you need to read from a variety of sources. You know what happens when you read from only one source? For a few months, you know exactly the writing style because similar authors write that and you predict everything then. So you need to be okay with every writing style that's available in the market. And that's why reading from a variety of sources is necessary. So for a starter, you read only one newspaper. And then gradually when you move to 2023, you can juggle between two newspapers. So today I read 2 articles of the Hindu and 2 articles from the Indian Express or 1 article from the Aeon. You can do a mixture in 2023 because you're targeting the 2024 examination that's going to happen in 2023 December. Okay. So the newspapers that we highly recommend. Sneha, because I'm caught up in a lot of work. But I'm glad that you recollect that. I'm glad. Which newspapers do I recommend? Hindu, Indian Express, Times of India, not highly. If you have difficulty in understanding English, you can start off with this newspaper. But ultimately, you have to graduate to these 2 newspapers. I love both of these newspapers. I love them. Okay. Times of India for a few reasons as well. Because one article 2022 was picked up from Times of India and one article in 2021 also was picked up from Times of India. But for that, do I need to read Times of India thoroughly? Probably not, because the language was very easy. So even if you've not read this article, it's absolutely okay for you. So as a starter, you can read this newspaper. But then if you are a veteran, I expect you to read either of it. And then some magazines. This magazine has, I'm going to draw a heart here. This magazine has my heart. At least 2 articles every week from the Aeon. Aeon.co is the website. You find the website. Yes, it will. Mathematical, it will. It will. Okay. Samanvit, roughly the notification is out 6 months before the paper happens. So you can keep a track of our YouTube channel. We're going to publish or send a video of whenever the notification and the form is out. So Aeon, 2 articles every week. It is full of essays. They're long, but do not be overwhelmed with it. You have to learn the art of skimming. That's what Aeon teaches you. Let's start talking about English and logical reasoning in detail. What do we do for English? See, these two sections are the backbone of the paper because the entire paper, and it's the backbone for ALET as well. The entire paper is based on these two things, your logical inclination and your reading habit. So there's no escaping to it. And I'm glad there's no escaping to it. These are my favorite subjects, right? We have to read regularly. I'm not sure how many times I've repeated this to you, and you need to understand with that fact how important reading is. I have to read the editorial portion of any national daily, probably Indian Express or the Hindu regularly. Analyze that. That's going to give me an inclination of the kind of articles that might come up. If you remember, 2021's paper was full of articles on COVID, full of articles on COVID. If I was somebody who was regular with newspapers, I would have sailed through seamlessly. I would not have had a problem with that. Okay. So, few things that you can do. Please read the newspapers regularly. Find out the high frequency words. Somebody told me I'm not really good with vocabulary. To be good with vocabulary, I need to know the high frequency words. What are high frequency words? High frequency words are words that we see often, hear often, read often. Randomly, any page from dictionary, giving up a word in the examination? No, that doesn't happen in competitive examinations. Competitive examinations focus on high frequency words. Words that are seen and read frequently. There are lists of high frequency words our app has. Please download the app. Please find the list and start working on those words. Trust me, if you're done with these words, 333, even if you do 10 daily, you can do them in a jiffy. Even if you're done with these words, your understanding of passages will increase manifolds. So make sure you do the high frequency words. You can do any vocabulary book like, you can do any grammar book like, I'm so sorry, I said vocab. You can do any of the grammar books as well, like Raymond Murphy or Renan Martin. You can do vocabulary books like Word Power Made Easy. Okay, I'll write that down. Word Power. Word Power Made Easy also has a list of high frequency words towards the end. Power Made Easy. Grammar books could be Renan Martin or Raymond Murphy. Okay, these are the two grammar books I'll recommend. It's absolutely. I don't think Norman Lewis, yes, of course, also is Word Power Made Easy. And practice many reading comprehensions. You can enroll for our program. There's description in the description box given about our programs. You can start attending our classes. If you want to do it on your own, you need to practice RCs from a variety of sources on a variety of topics. CLAT has been giving us many topics, moving away from law-based topics to a variety of ones. Literature-based, non-literature-based, art-based articles have come up. History-based articles have come up. So I need to practice a lot of RCs. So these are the three things: basic fundamental of grammar, vocabulary, high frequency words, and many reading comprehension and its practice are the three things I recommend you start doing today for your preparation for English. Let's start talking about your preparation for critical reasoning. See, critical reasoning demands your understanding of basic concepts. What are assumptions? What are conclusions? What is an argument? What is a premise? You need to understand these fundamentals. So once you understand these fundamentals, that's when you start practicing. Don't directly jump on to practicing difficult questions like GMAT based questions or LSAT based questions. You'll be confused, utterly confused, and you'll start hating this topic. So please understand the basic nitty-gritties and concepts of what are assumptions, conclusions, premise, argument. How do you strengthen or weaken an argument? How do you solve a strong and weak argument question? Understand the basic principles, and that's you jump on to when you jump on to your practicing. Practicing from sources, I'll tell you in the next slide. Okay. I hope that makes sense, everyone. Let's move on. So where do you practice RCs and critical reasoning questions from? You can practice them from the GMAT official guide. That's their website. GMAT questions might look difficult to you, but that's the epitome. If you are able to do this, you shall be able to do all the ALET based questions as well. Although CLAT based questions are more inclined towards RCs and less towards reasoning, ALET is much inclined towards critical reasoning, and the difficulty level is equivalent to the GMAT question. So you can follow this website. Read good novels, and don't merely read them, analyze them. What is the writing style? What is the hidden argument the author is trying to give here while you're reading? Good articles from Aeon, good novels that you read. So that's how you delve deeper into the understanding of the hidden idea, the unstated idea when you read between the lines. That's what you need to focus on. Okay, about legal reasoning. So see, a lot of basic fundamentals aren't asked in legal reasoning. Give me a second, please. But some understanding of basic terminologies are expected. So you have to read like a lawyer. You have to read critically. Think critically. Okay, if this happens, am I thinking emotionally or am I thinking like a lawyer, logically? You have to logically think, critically think. And that's why reasoning is an imperative part throughout the paper. Some basic fundamentals are expected out of you, but only some, because you're not a lawyer yet. But you have to read critically, understand the depth of a passage. What is the hidden idea that the author is trying to say? And that goes without saying for legal reasoning as well. So we're going to be doing some basic legal journals, some basic legal terminologies, newspapers, articles on law in daily newspapers. Read them with a lot of depth. If you don't understand the terms, go Wikipedia, read about the terminologies. Read them very carefully, analyze them, how things work here, the judgments given. Madras High Court is in news a lot these days. Read about that. Read legal journals and articles that have complex legal terms and texts so that you're able to analyze it. How is the flow of argument going? You might be taken aback initially when you read legal articles, but you need to understand them. That's what's expected out of you. An unseen passage and you being able to understand it. And you need to be able to draw conclusions towards the end. Critical reasoning, English, logical reasoning, legal reasoning, all the sections are dependent on that. How do you draw conclusions? Only after critical analysis of the articles given to you. Before I show you anything else about other sections, make sure you've liked the session. If you haven't done that yet, make sure you have commented under my video. If you think you're gained immensely with the video, make sure you share the video with all your friends and subscribe to the channel. Hit on the bell icon before you move ahead. Now let's start talking about more about legal reasoning. So important judgments, what have happened in the last 1 year, very, very important. We have classes going on. I think Nivedita ma'am takes many classes on the legal judgments. Please watch the videos and the series very carefully. Look at how she is analyzing the topics. You need to understand them. Newspapers, good legal books, and your basic understanding of basic principles. See, law of torts, contract, constitution, law of crimes. These are basic, simple principles. Understanding them will come handy when you have an unseen passage on these basic concepts. They're not very difficult. And I'm sure you have an inclination towards law, and that's why you picked up CLAT as a career option. Please pay attention to these basic concepts. That's going to help you. Apart from that, work on your legal terminologies. So, for example, alibi or acquitting or corpus delicti, these words will come up in your unseen passages. And they should not be a speed breaker for you. You need to know the meaning of these words. These are common words. And you can actually memorize them very, very easily. I'll give you a short trick here. Corpus. Corp is the root word, which means body. So corporation, corpse, corpus delicti, that's how you memorize the word. Work on the root words. You know, these FID means faith. If you work on root words, these words will not bother you a lot. Even if there's an unseen word comes, you know the root word. And you can work on their contextual meaning related to the sentence. You work on the etymology here, their basic words and their meanings. No, Sneha, that's not enough. You need to read the newspapers regularly. But apart from newspapers, if you are regular with the Ignite magazine, I think that's enough. So regular newspapers, making your own sweet notes, and then revision through the Ignite magazine, that should be enough, Sneha. Okay? And you do these legal basic fundamental rights. I'm sure schools have taught you this. You understand them, your duties, your rights, what is trespassing, what is avoidable, void agreement, void and voidable difference, what is absolute liability, basic principles. This might look new to you, but once you get the hang of it, you can answer this in a jiffy. These are the topics that you are expected to know for a better understanding of an unseen passage that comes up. What are the books that I recommend for legal aptitude? So first and foremost, your constitution discussed in your NCERT book. The first thing, your NCERT books, please find them back if you don't have them. Buy them back if you don't have them. Mathematics or legal reasoning, your books are going to come handy. NCERT books. So your NCERT, Indian Constitution at Work, you have Politics in India since independence, your NCERT book. You need to know the entire establishment of a constitution, our political struggle. I lately took an article on Rana Day. So I hope you know who Rana Day was and how he had a camaraderie with B.R. Ambedkar and everything. So it's an insight to what our India since independence talks about. There are many other books as well on India since independence, but we're going to be referring to the basic NCERT for now so that we have a simple understanding of how the story was built. Class 11th and 12th legal studies textbook. Please find them. Very simply written, very easily written and very easy to comprehend as well. Do these books. Our Constitution, National Book Trust has this publication, and we have Our Parliament by National Book Trust as well. These are a few books. Take a screenshot of it very, very quickly, everyone. Find these books, do them in detail. And we have Our Judiciary by National Book Trust as well. I'm sure you've taken a screenshot. Okay. Let's start talking about quant. Not a lot of weightage given to it, but can I leave quant completely? What is your say here? There are many people who ask this. Should I leave quant completely? I'm not really good with quant. You can. You shouldn't though. Because even if you gain 5-6 marks in quant out of the 15 questions that come up, 17 questions that come up, it's a win-win for you. And you can pick up questions that can be done in a jiffy, within seconds. No, NCERT is not complicated, my child. It's simple. Actual legal texts are more complicated. And that's why I consider NCERT to be an easier version. Because when you look at actual legal texts, they are complicated. And that's why we would recommend NCERT books. Getting back to the question about quants, please don't leave it completely. If you're not really good, if you're good, you're in a win-win situation. If you're not really inclined towards quant, do at least some questions. Practice some basic fundamentals. The questions aren't difficult. You can do them. If I can do them, you can do them for sure. So please, work on your quantitative ability. Solve basic topics like percentage, ratio, proportion, average. These questions are easy. We've been taught this till our 10th grade, right? Profit and loss, area volume, basic geometrical figures, the formulas. A basic revision will help you. You can easily sail through. Okay? So that's about quant. What book do I recommend? Absolutely your NCERT maths book, class 9th and 10th. Please do that thoroughly. I'm sure with only this practice, you can score a 5+ certainly in maths. Your basic calculation is going to improve with this. Do not be afraid. Even 1 mark can make it or break it for you. I have seen people struggling for a mark as well. Don't take quant for granted. No. You have to work on every section. 1 mark gained anywhere is going to make it or break it for you. Okay. So, strategy that we now can follow, starting from zero, assuming you don't know anything, assuming that, how do we move forward? I am at 0 level. How do I prepare for 2024? Please look at the last 3 years of paper. So we have 3 stages in which you can start preparing. The first one is developing familiarity with CLAT. The second is concept building, and third is testing yourself. Let's start talking about developing familiarity. Please, how do you develop familiarity? Last 3 years paper, solve them thoroughly. Look at the pattern, look at the difficulty level of the questions, look at the syllabus, look at the basic books, understand these books, start reading newspapers regularly, get a hang of it right now. Current affairs, January onwards is important, but do I need to be okay with reading newspapers? I can't start in January and expect myself to ace the newspaper. You start right now with baby steps. And that's how you proceed. And by January, you'll be a pro at reading newspapers. So you start right now. Any of the prominent newspapers, okay? Improve your vocabulary. Start solving the start solving the Norman Lewis book, or start working on the high frequency words. Download our app. There are many free tests available, many free videos available. Watch them. Understand your basic concepts. Develop your legal vocabulary and basic calculation skills without a calculator. You shouldn't rely on calculator for 4+4 or something as easy as that. Okay. So please develop your basic skills that are needed for this examination. The second step is concept building. Now I start working. When I start working, I attend classes regularly. Again, I'll recommend you download our app. There are many, roughly 150+ new videos that we have recently uploaded where we have tried to explain the basic concepts of every single subject. 150 plus new videos will be uploaded in the next 10 days. So you have roughly 300 free videos that you can watch taught by all of us. Start with your basic concepts. Keep following them. Okay. And understand how do I build a reading habit, because that's the prerequisite for any law entrance examination. So develop a reading habit, practice questions. So you need to understand, if I have to solve a critical reasoning question, what's an assumption, what's a conclusion? If I have to solve grammar, what's noun, what's pronoun? If I have to solve mathematics, how do I calculate percentage or how do I calculate ratio? Basic concept building is the second stage. And the third stage is your practice. There are many tests available on our app. Start solving those tests in the third stage. Please take your mocks very sincerely. Please take your sectional tests very sincerely. I have seen many people not paying attention to test taking and they never make it through. You have to be somebody who needs to take many tests. That includes all the previous year papers, CLAT last 3 years paper, sample papers launched by the consortium. Last year they launched one, this year they didn't. But last year paper is available. ALET last 3 years paper, because you're going to sit for that exam as well, and LSAT papers. Because LSAT is mostly inclined towards reading. And it's very similar to the CLAT latest pattern that we see. So solve LSAT papers as well. Many LSAT papers are available. And most important, many kids don't pay attention to mocks. 90% of the kids, they don't take the mock seriously. Only 10% give mocks, and those 10% make it to their dream NLU. Somebody who doesn't take the mock sincerely has meager chances. You have to be very careful with your mocks, taking them in time, analyzing your mistakes, improving your scores. If you don't take mocks, believing the fact that I haven't done anything yet, my course is still left, how am I going to take mocks? It's a misconception. It doesn't work like that. Please take your mocks very sincerely. I'll keep repeating that over and over again, but right now, this is a reminder to you. So that was about our preparatory strategy. I'm open for questions and doubts, everyone. What are the doubts that you have? I hope everything was clear about your preparatory strategy. I hope everything made sense to you. I hope you have a clear roadmap with you now that you can now follow. I'm open for questions, everyone. Do you have any doubts in your mind? Any questions? Although I've tried to answer almost every question that came into my YouTube chat right now. But if you do not have any questions, then I'm going to ask you to like the video right now, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and please comment under the video if you think you've been benefited with the session. I shall see you again on our YouTube classes and in the app as well. Make sure you watch them live. Thank you so much, everyone. And make sure you download the app. Don't miss out on that. That's on Google Play. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. Have a very good evening.